morning, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond Breakfast. Today's Monday, just a very quick market recap. Not really a market recap, but we know that last week the markets took a little bit of a hit, and a lot of it was fueled by speculations about AI being in a bubble, and famous investor Michael Burry shorted two of the most important stocks in the stock exchange, which is Nvidia and Palantir. Even though those two companies are probably generating more income than any other, I would say a majority of what's happening in the stock market right now is being driven by them. So he believes that this is a bubble, just like he predicted in 2008 that the subprime market would crash, and he made billions of dollars. There was a great movie called The Big Short that came out in 2015. Christian Bale portrayed Michael Burry, and that's where he's at right now. So he's shorting these two companies right now. He says that the whole thing is a scam, that everything's inflated. Nvidia and Palantir. I think he's wrong. These two companies are the most important companies. I don't think he understands AI. This is not like a typical math where you're thinking about exponential growth in the typical ways, but we'll see what happens. But I'm looking at something right now called CRW, which is a company that does a lot of the cooling for for the data centers and for the chips themselves. It's down right now. I like Meta right now. Meta is down. I think it's a really good buy as well. Obviously, Palantir, Nvidia, long term, these are all great stocks. Anyway, hatzlacha, whatever you choose to do. All right, so this is Rav Dessler. He has an essay called The Lamps of Chanukah. So we know that the miracle was 8 days of lighting, right? That the Greeks had taken over at this time. They ruled over the land of Israel, and they were metameh. They desecrated anything that was pure in the land of Israel, and they wanted, finally the Maccabees take over, and now they have the chance to reestablish the lighting of the candles in the Beit HaMikdash. So the Beit HaMikdash is already, imagine it filled with Greek gods. Anything that was Jewish already was covered up, so to speak, by the overlay of the Greek culture. Now that was controlling it, and finally the Jews are able to free it from their grasp, and now they're taking over. So the first thing they want to do is they want to light the candles, Hanukah. They want to light the candle, Hanukah. They can't bring korbanot properly. They just want to light the candles in the Kodesh Kedoshim. So they're looking around for oil, and we know it takes about 8 days to make oil. The way you make Shemen Zayit Zach was, you got an olive, okay, you crushed it, you put it in the press, and that first drop of oil is the only that first drop of oil is what you can use for the lighting of the menorah. You can't press the whole entire thing. It has to be the highest, purest level of oil you could possibly imagine. Now, it's important to note that, the symbol for Jewish wisdom is olive oil, right? And the symbol for Greek wisdom, by the way, was the olive wreath, olive branch, was olive. And the way that, you want to add something?
I was just thinking about what you just said.
Yeah.
So the olive wreath is the untouched, unimproved leaf.
Yeah.
And the olive oil is you take it, and by exerting a little bit of pressure on it, you get something more pure.
Exactly.
So it's sort of like the Jews versus the Greeks.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what the Maharal says. The Maharal says that when you look at, how we think about chachma and wisdom, right? That from the Greek perspective, it was all chitzoni, it was all external. Over focus on the goof on the body. It's all about the Greek games, the Olympics were in the nude, highlighting the physical body and so on and so forth. Their mathematics and their philosophy had limitations because if it was something that you could not see, it was too theoretical, they ignored it. They made mistakes in how they calculated their astronomy because there were bodies they couldn't take into account, and therefore, if it was too theoretical, if it was suggestive but not something they could actually physically measure, they ignored it. This is not the way Jews like to think, obviously. For us, it's not an emphasis on the physical, although we do appreciate the physical, but we understand that our job is to elevate it. And the way we elevate it is by taking the physical, like the olive, crush it, smash it, rip out the oil from it, and then turn that into light. That is where we want to go with the physical world. We understand that it's here for a reason. We don't want to leave it in its current state. Our job is to elevate it. The same is true with the Brit Milah. The Brit Milah is supposed to be the mankind's partnership with God in elevating the body itself. That's what Hashem says to Abraham in last week's parsha. Actually, 2 parashiyot ago. And now you and I carry around that mark as a reminder that we're here to take the physical and elevate it into something more. So this is what Rav Dessler says. He said the flask of oil lasted for 8 days. 8 is a significant number.
One more than natural.
So, right, so let's explain that. He says if 6 stands for the physical creation and 7 for the spiritual in the midst of the physical, Shabbat, then 8 stands for that which is completely outside of the world. Let's just try to explain that. So we understand that there's a system here. We have a system of 7, and it's on repeat. You have 7 days of the week, and then it goes back to 7 again. And we're constantly going 7, 7, no, 7, and 7 spec color. And you go through 7 is a fascinating number. Now, the way the Maharal explains it is like this. He says that you look at the directions of the planet, right? North, east, west, south, right? That's 4. Then he says you have height and depth, which is 6. And he says those 6 directional spheres represents the physical world itself. That's the world of Gashmiyut.
If you don't have a center point, then it's floating.
Correct.
If you anchor it with a center point, then you have 7, and it can't move.
Exactly. That anchoring in the middle is what makes the system it sits. So like you imagine you have 6, and then you have the item itself is 7, and that's what Shabbat is. So while 6 is part of the physical world, right, that's what makes up this physical world, the Shabbat is outside, that the whole system itself is encompassed in the Shabbat itself. And that's what we say, everything we're doing during the week is for Shabbat, right? Hayom, Yom, Sheni, Yom Shabbat Kodesh, and so on and so forth. We're constantly going back to bringing everything back in the Shabbat. So that's 7. So then what's 8? We never get to 8, if you think about it, because every time Sunday comes, we're back at number 1 again. So we're always cycling back, and therefore 8 is a number from a spiritual perspective that is outside of the physical world, outside of the system of everything. And the truth is, there's 2 times that Chachamim speak about 8. The 8th day is the day before creation, right? That day is not counted. The day before God said, "Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'haaretz," that is day number 8. That's what the Mekubalim say. That's the 8th. That's outside of. And we don't get to that 8 again until the Messianic times. Anyway, the spiritual of Olam Haba is not directly accessible to us in this world. Maharal tells us that Olam Haba could not be described in the Torah because the Torah is prophecy, and prophecy can intimate only those things which are directly accessible to human experiences. Meaning, like you can't talk to me about something that I can't experience. There's no way for me to communicate it. And therefore, the Nevuah itself has to be something that you can see, hear, and feel. And therefore, his prophecies, and Olam Haba, by definition, is wholly beyond human sensory perception, and therefore he can never talk about Olam Haba, which is why he doesn't. He only speaks about things in this world. However, Olam Haba can be appreciated by the intellect. And this is why the rabbis who approach the Torah through intellect and not through prophecy were able to describe it to us, at least by allegory, some aspects of Olam Haba. In this sense, Chacham adif min Navi, right? We say that the sage is greater than the prophet. That's the Gemara in Baba Batra. In a similar manner, the deepest level of our spiritual lives cannot be approached directly. One has to work the limit of his abilities on the lower, more outwardly oriented level. Then, in the fullness of time, maybe we're granted access to the deepest source of our being, where love and joy reside. That is, so we have this metziut, this reality, where I think everyone here would agree that if I was to ask you to think about where you were 5 years ago and what you knew about the world relative to where you are right now, you're in a much better position today than where you were 5 years ago. And certainly you'd agree 10 years ago, like, holy cow, I wish I could take what I knew now 10 years back in my past. What's that? Yeah. Well, all of it. There's so many. Forget about the financial gain from taking what you know now back, but forget about the financial part of it. Forgetting the markets, but just think about it as a person, for your own personal development and who you are, and so on and so forth. So the question is, why is there such a huge gap between, what I should be doing, when I know what truths about my life, knowing the knowledge now, but not having it the day before? There's a process of uncovering these things about ourselves. Like, it took me a while to know that, there's certain types of foods I'll tell you the story. It's actually a true story. When I first got married during a Seder Teshuvah. Right? So which means I got married between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Okay? So my first Rosh Hashanah married was at the end of approaching my anniversary. So it was my first Rosh Hashanah ever that I had alone with my wife. So we had our own seder by ourselves. And we're going through the seder, we're having all the shechianos, we're making everything like that. And in the middle of the meal, I'm like, God, mosquito bites Israel, it's just so annoying. We're living in Israel at the time. And I'm going like this. She's like, mosquito bites. She's like, are you sure it's mosquito bites? Maybe you have an allergic reaction. I'm like, I'm not allergic to anything. She's like, why don't you like lift up your shirt? So I open up my shirt and I'm watching welts like literally like expand across my chest, like literally like blowing up like a balloon. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on, you know? So I get some Benadryl, whatever it is. Now, I don't know what I ate because I ate all these things. There were so many I have no idea what it was. What was the allergic reaction to? Everything I had that day are things I've never had before. My wife had all these interesting fruits that she wanted me to try that were never in my diet before, so now I have no idea. So anyway, this Rosh Hashanah, for the last 27 years, I've been taking one thing, I'm trying to recreate that day and trying to figure out what is it that I've been eating that I'm allergic to.
All of them and test them once.
So yeah, that's probably the smart thing to do, but I'm just waiting every Rosh Hashanah to see what happens. Anyway, so this year,
It's not a good idea.
right, not a good idea. Anyway, okay, well I figured it out. Okay, this year, okay, now I happen to, pomegranates is like are things that you have all the time, right? Now, I could have pomegranate juice and have no reaction to it. So I am allergic to pomegranate seeds. And I did not know that. So that's why I kept like eluding me. I was just elusive. I couldn't figure it out. But this year I figured it out. It took me 27 years of trying to figure out what it is. Now, we don't live in a world where things become instantaneously clear to us. Sometimes our parents and our mentors, the people that are older than us, that are wiser than us, they give us insight. They share their experience, and that's what allows us to get ahead. Not like an animal, by the way. An animal is born with everything it needs to know about itself, how to survive and how to maintain its living. We're not like that. And therefore, there's a process of uncovering that has to happen. So there's something called the subconscious. We'll pick up the subconscious tomorrow, Bezrat Hashem. But just think about this. There's something called the subconscious. And the question is, why did God create a subconscious? Meaning, I could have something that I'm aware of deep in my pit, in my stomach, that I'm leaning towards, I have a sense about, but I don't know it to be true. And then I have this consciousness. So why does God create this duality in Bezrat Hashem? Right, we'll unpack that for us tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.